Bellator 268 main event. Vadim Nemkov taking on Julius Anglickas. Light heavyweight championship on the line. Nemkov riding an 8-fight win streak into the second defense of his light heavyweight belt. Anglickas replacing Anthony Rumble Johnson, a late ad. Rumble Johnson had to pull out with an illness, some drama early in round one. Nemkov missing on an uppercut. Anglickas capitalizing with the counter right. Drops the favorite. Not enough to get rid of Nemkov. Later in round one, Nemkov not messing around, showing off his wrestling prowess, gets the takedown. All Nemkov in round one after the knockdown. BC scored at 10-9 Nemkov in the first. To round two, Nemkov working against the cage. Again, just a war of wills here. Another takedown. Later in round two, Nemkov busting up Anglickas with heavy ground and pound. Got him leaking and starting to show signs of not only wear, but fatigue. Dominant round from the champion. We go to round four. Nemkov sticking with the wrestling, scores another takedown, and once Nemkov got it to the ground this time, he attacked with multiple submission attempts, locked in the Kimura, ultimately forcing the tap. Nemkov successfully defends his light heavyweight title for the second time. He's now on a 9-fight win streak, securing his spot in the light heavyweight Grand Prix finals. As for your money moves, it was Nemkov on the money line, minus 650. Nemkov by KO or sub, minus 140. Fight to go the distance, no, minus 190. So he's your Bellator light heavyweight world champion once again. Remains undefeated in Bellator 7-0. 13 of his 15 wins have come via knockout or submission. As for who Nemkov will face, Ryan Bader, Corey Anderson facing off for that right. Co-main event between these two. Bader looking to secure a spot in the Grand Prix finals where he could regain his light heavyweight title and $1 million, but who's counting? Corey Anderson, former training partner of Bader. He's 2-0 with 2 knockouts since making the move to Bellator. Don't blink, because this one was over in a hurry. Anderson landing the overhand right that drops Bader, caught him right behind the ear with that right. Sort of took his legs out from under him. Anderson jumping on top of Bader, lands some heavy ground and pound. A big elbow is all that the referee would need to see as he calls a stop to the fight 51 seconds into the action. Corey Anderson steamrolls Ryan Bader, punching his ticket into the light heavyweight Grand Prix finals, where he will face off with Vadim Nemkov. By the numbers, Anderson by KO paid you plus 150, so $1 million on the line, and the title of light heavyweight champion of the world in Bellator will be decided between Anderson and Nemkov. Let's dig into it all with the best in the business. CBS Sports combat analyst Brian Campbell. BC, let's begin with the main event. Vadim Nemkov retains his belt and punches his ticket into the Grand Prix final. What a complete performance here. I mean, looked like he had this thing wrapped up at a number of different points, but credit to Julius Anglickas hanging in there as long as he did. Ultimately, it's a 4th-round submission. How do you characterize this performance?
Yeah, look, this Bellator Grand Prix tournament does no favors to the champion. Turns out Nemkov didn't even need one. Outside of getting dropped by a counter right hand in round one, this was all Nemkov all the time, to the tune, depending on how you scored the multiple 10-8 rounds. And that's because after shaking off that early damage, what Nemkov did so well was time his takedowns. The speed of his jab was giving Anglickas trouble early, but as soon as he was able to consistently take this fight to the ground, that's when you saw how brutal and consistent the great champion Vadim Nemkov is. Comes from Team Fedor in Russia. Look, you want to be aligned with anything called Fedor, you better have your ground and pound in tune, and that's what Nemkov had to wear down Anglickas, cut him, and then it's for a round and a half, it was which submission at what time. Turned out to be that Kimura that got the quick tap. Nemkov with the second defense of his 205-pound title.
Yeah, really sharp stuff. Nemkov going to again put that belt on the line in the Grand Prix finale against what looked like a more than formidable opponent. Corey Anderson discards Ryan Bader in under a minute. Anderson now 7-1 his last 8 walks to the center stage. Only loss comes to Jan Blachowicz. BC, we're talking about one of the best light heavies walking the planet despite where he's fighting. What stood out to you tonight?
Look, the momentum that Corey Anderson is riding on this 3 fights to open his Bellator run, all by TKO. It is impressive to need just 51 seconds to take out the former champion in Ryan Bader. What you saw was a guy in Corey Anderson. We already know he can go on the ground and he can go for days, but it's the improvement of his striking and the confidence he's showing. He landed that beautiful counter right hand, which looped above and over the guard of Bader, caught him leaning after he stepped forward with a lead left hand to try to set up his own right hand. And that was an equilibrium shot on the air. Bader went down, and then you saw Anderson kick it up into second gear to force that finish, force the referee's hand at 51 seconds of that opening round. This is an Anderson with a motor, who's focused, whose head is clear. There's also a guy who's won 7 of 8 overall now. You want to talk about entering the finals with that world title at stake, that $1 million prize at stake, and the title of tournament champion in front of you. You could not want to back anyone hotter than Corey Anderson right now. Hey, Joe, you heard him say he used to handle Bader in practice back in the day, and all of us are going practice. Now he does it in the game time, too. This was surprisingly one-sided.
We are no longer talking about practice, BC, here. We're also talking about, as you so eloquently set the stage, the Grand Prix finale now here in the final. These two gentlemen give us the first preview that we need.
Yeah, this is a great matchup here. Not only two guys in their absolute physical primes, but two really fighting for respect. Nemkov's been one of the best kept secrets in all of MMA till he broke out over the last year with Bellator, becoming the champion on a great win streak. He's so solid across the board. You saw that in the way he dispatched Anglitskis. No holes in his game. And he's consistent and strong, and he's a threat. But I want to see what Corey Anderson brings to this final from what else can he do to keep raising his game. If his striking is going to be on the level of his takedowns and his mauling on the ground, this is really going to test the champion Nemkov across the board in all of the same categories. If you allow Nemkov to take you down and take top position like Anglitskis did, it's going to be a long night. Corey Anderson does not allow that. So how their striking may match up in a stand-up, if their wrestling cancels each other out, this could be a very, very interesting X's and O's matchup between two guys with high motors who come out there and look for a finish.
There will be plenty of time for talk, but for now, he's the king of swing, Brian Campbell. Thank you, BC.
Thank you.
And don't forget, there's only one place to be for all your combat needs. That's with our guys, Luke Thomas and Brian Campbell, each and every day on The Morning Combat. They break down all things fight. If there is a clock, if there is a bell, if there are punches being thrown, our guys got you covered on The Morning Combat.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.